This is Always Outnumbered, Always Outgunned, chapter Marvane Street, section 1. Water seeped in under Socrates' boarded-up door to the street. A boarded-up door is one that someone has nailed boards to so that you can't get in or out of it. The rain was hard, and he had to put towels down at the cracks where the tiny streams tried to flow across his sleeping room. He listened to the rain pelting down. To pelt something means to hit it hard on the tin roof, and was happy that he didn't have to go to work that day. He picked up the throw rugs from the concrete floor and changed towels every hour or two. The couch he slept on was up on wooden blocks, and the kitchen floor was elevated by worn linoleum tiles. There would have to be a downpour to flood out the kitchen. The rain seemed to get harder for a moment, the sound of the water cascading over the drain pipe and crashing on the old barrel on the other side of his wall. Then it stopped. A gust, maybe, a wind. But he hadn't heard the wind. Then the sound again. Not exactly water on the barrel. It was a little too hard. The sound came back twice more before Socrates realized that it was knocking at his back door, the only working door. He rarely had guests in good weather, never in the rain. The boy was standing there, soaking wet. "Hey, Darrell," Socrates said. He moved aside so that the boy could come in. "Hey, what are you doing out in this rain?" "I don't know, nothing. Are you hungry?" 11-year-old boys, in Socrates' experience, were always hungry. Especially if they were black boys, especially if they were poor. Socrates brought out a large bowl of chicken and rice gumbo from his new squat refrigerator. Gumbo is a southern dish, very spicy and flavorful. Squat is short. He heated the stew on a butane camping stove he'd gotten from the Army surplus store downtown. Socrates bought everything from that store. His clothes and his shoes, his pocket knife and dishes. Ever since he started working for Bounty Supermarket on Santa Monica, boxing and delivering groceries, Socrates had been shopping, buying necessities that were more like luxuries for the ex-con. A necessity is something that you need, and a luxury is something that you want. For Socrates, the necessities like a refrigerator he considers luxuries. He cut raw onions into Darrell's bowl and then sprinkled ground sassafras and thyme leaves over it all. He put Darrell in the good folding chair and turned over the empty trash can for his own seat. Darrell was shivering, but didn't seem to know it. He ate the gumbo with a large spoon and didn't talk because his mouth was too busy working to fit in any words. Watching the boy's gluttony. Gluttony is when you do something to excess, when you do something too much. So the boy is eating a lot. So watching the boy's gluttony, Socrates had to stop or stifle the rage that bloomed in his chest. Rage is anger. He wanted to slap the skinny boy out of his chair, to see him sprawled out on the floor. He wanted to pick Darrell up by those bony shoulders and slam him up against the wall. He wished that some man had had that kind of love for him before he'd gone wrong. He had told Darrell that he could come over any time he had a problem, but this was the first time that the boy had returned. He was a troubled child with no father, one of those lost souls who did wrong but didn't know it, or hardly did. "Thanks," Darrell said after finishing his third bowlful. "That was good." "How are you doing, boy?" Socrates asked. "I'm okay. How's your mother?" She's fine. She has a boyfriend, Tyrell. He's up in the house a lot. But she's fine, I guess." Socrates took Darrell's bowl to the sink and filled it with water. He tried to wipe off the ledge behind the basin, but the plaster was crumbling, and no amount of wiping could clean it. "Do you have dreams?" Darrell asked the broad-backed murderer. Sometimes. What do you dream about? Whatever it is that I want and don't have. That's why they call them dreams. Oh, uh-huh. What are you dreaming about? Nothing. Darrell sat in the plastic chair staring at the old man's chest. He seemed angry. Socrates was mad too. He could see that Darrell was in trouble, and trouble was always close to violence in Socrates' life. Even his concern for the boy, bunched up in his biceps and played along his sharp, fin-like knuckles. I have some pie up on the top shelf, Socrates said. What kind of pie? Does it matter? I don't eat mincemeat pie. That stuff is nasty. It's peach. I got it at the store. Yeah, I want some. Socrates brought down the pie. Only half of it was left. He cut it into 2 equal pieces and served it up on aluminum mess plates. When he ate, the anger subsided or went away a little. It was a good pie that they were going to throw away at Bounty. He took a bag of leftovers home at the end of every week from the store. Do you ever dream about something you don't want? Darrell asked. Well, sometimes I don't think I want something when I really do. But I mean something that you really hate. Something that makes you wake up scared and want to run. Darrell's eyes were looking back into the dream. Are you dreaming about that boy? Socrates asked. Darrell swallowed, but he didn't say a thing. What do you dream? Socrates put his hands in his pockets and leaned back on his trash can. We were in a big room, with all the lights out, but you could still see. He was cut on his neck, but he was walking. He didn't have any clothes on, and he was walking after me. He was screaming, and I was running. The room was really big, but you couldn't see anything except for him. Darrell shivered again. Socrates wanted to hug the boy, but he knew better. Did he catch you? No, I always wake up before he can. But he is there every night. I can't hardly even take a nap, but he's there. I get afraid even to go in my bed. What do you think he's going to do if he catches you? Pull me down and make me dead like him. Burn the skin off my bones, like in that movie I saw. Why does he want to do that, Darrell? Because I killed him. Because he's mad at me. Because me and Jamal and the others, we left him up there and didn't even tell his mother that he was dead. And now, he isn't even buried right, that's why. Darrell started tapping his spoon against the plate. Do you want to do something about that? Socrates asked. There isn't anything to do. Maybe I could take something that makes me sleep some. Is that why you came here? Do you think I have some sleeping pills? No, I could get those at school. Darrell beat out a steady beat on his plate. Stop that banging, little brother, Socrates said, and pay attention. As long as you are alive, you can do something. That's what being alive is all about. When you are dead, then your doing days are over. It's over for that boy. He's dead. He is dead and you killed him, and now you feel bad. So you have to do something. And since you did wrong, now you have to do a good thing. Try to balance it out. And then I can sleep? I bet you could. Shoot. Why don't you go in the other room right now and stretch out on my sofa? I'll make sure nobody comes and gets you. And then when you get up, we'll talk about what you could do. Darrell had come over at about 9 in the morning. He was asleep by 10. The rain clouds passed over at noon, and Socrates went out in a small garden to turn the soil for the rose bushes he hoped to buy. He was daydreaming about golden roses late in the day when Darrell came outside. His eyes were bleary or foggy, but at least there wasn't a frown on his face. How did you sleep? Fine, the boy said. How long was it? About 5 hours, maybe more. Wow. You go on home, Darrell. Come back tomorrow, and we will try to figure out what you can do. Socrates made a play of swinging his big fist at Darrell. That was the first time he had seen the boy smile. Bye, Darrell said, and he waved to show that he meant it. Section 2. The next day was Sunday. Socrates didn't work on the weekends because the high school kids all wanted those hours. Darrow came by, but they didn't talk about what he could do to make up for murder. They had Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Darrow took another nap. Socrates gave Darrow the keys to his apartment, and every day for a week he would come home to find the boy sprawled out on his sleeping couch. It wasn't until the following Saturday that Socrates had his lesson planned. "Have you ever been down on Marvane Street?" Socrates asked Darrow after they finished a breakfast of pork sausage with scrambled eggs and green onions. "Oh, well, Jamal is down there." Before he could start his drumming, Socrates said, "Are we going down there today?" "Oh, we are going down there today." "Where at?" "Marvane Street. What for?" "Before you can do something, you have to know what the problem is. The problem you have is down on Marvane," Socrates said. They walked down the wide alley that went past Socrates' door, onto the main street and east toward Marvane. The streets were full of people. Children and their mothers, older men propped up against abandoned storefronts, or seated on some box or discarded chair. There were gangs of children, gangs of teenagers, gangs of young men and women, passing in cars blaring loud hip-hop music, walking down the street, laughing and dancing, making jokes that sounded like threats. "Are you in a gang, Darrow?" Socrates asked. "Not yet." "Are you going to be?" "Maybe." "Maybe?" "It isn't up to me," Darrow said. "Sometimes you have to get with them for protection. Right now, there isn't anybody fighting on my street. But if they do, then I have to be with somebody. You can't make it by yourself in a war." Socrates wanted to say something, but he didn't know what. Darrow knew a child's street better than he did. In those streets, children died every day. "That's your problem right there, Darrow." "What?" The boy looked around, but he didn't see anything. "To try to think of a way that children won't get killed. Try to make it better for whomever you can." It took about an hour to get to Marvane. It was a wide street with big houses that had been subdivided into apartments many years before. A few of the homes had burned down, leaving empty lots between the overpopulated buildings. The lots were full of garbage and refuse, temporary sleeping places, and small children at play. At the back of one empty lot was a large single-story house. The windows had been boarded over, and the only way in or out was a metal door. In the lot, a dozen or so people stumbled around. To stumble means to walk around, but not securely on your feet. Some of them were talking, some just listening to the music in their blood. Every now and then, a solitary or single figure would come out of the fire door or go in. "Is that where Jamal goes?" "I guess. I haven't ever been. Why not? It sounds nasty." Darrow frowned and shook his head. "That house is part of the problem," Socrates said. He talked as they walked by across the street. "Yeah? What am I supposed to do about that?" "I don't know. All I do know is that it's a part of it. Drugs are killing people faster than heart attacks down here." "What's the other part?" Darrow asked. They were already past the drug house and coming close to another place. There was a sign over the front door that read, "The Young Africans." It was a rooming house that had been converted to offices. Young men and women, many in African-like clothing, could be seen through the windows and in the yard. There was a guard at the door. This man wore a black suit and a coal gray t-shirt, sunglasses, and a short-brimmed hat. "Have you been up there?" Socrates asked. "No, man," Darrow said, sounding like he was mimicking somebody he heard. "Those people don't make any sense." To mimic someone means to copy them. Children often copy their parents and their parents' opinions about things. Suddenly, Socrates broke out into laughter. There was a childish glee or happiness in his high-pitched wheezing. He slapped Darrow on the back, nearly knocking the boy down. You sure aren't a fool, Darrow. Socrates laughed no more. No, you sure aren't. They kept moving. 3 houses down, across the street from them and the young Africans, on the same side of the street as the crack house, was a smaller dark house. There was a new chain-link fence around it. A fat man with a big black cigar between his lips was watering the lawn. Let's go up here, boy. Socrates led the way up to the high front porch of a rooming house directly across the street from the dark house. They went up to the top of the stairs and sat down. What are we doing here? Darrow asked. What do you see? Socrates asked, motioning his head toward the house across the street. A house? What else? I don't know. It's a house with a fat man watering with a hose. What else? I don't know. Oh, I got it. Let's see. It's got 3 floors, and Darrow counted on his fingers while peering at the house. And 11 windows. It's dark. It has a new fence, and that's it. Uh-huh. Socrates nodded. You want some Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid is a type of drink. It's sugar and water, maybe a little coloring, food coloring. The ex-con pulled a flask or bottle out of the inside of his army jacket. He passed it over to his pupil or student. The boy downed it all in one swallow. It means he drank it all in one swallow. What now? Darrow asked. Keep looking. Maybe you'll see a little something else. Hey, Socko, a voice said from inside the rooming house. Darrow and Socrates were watching the dark house. The fat man had gone inside. Hey, Wright! Socrates turned. With an aging man's groan, he rose to shake hands with his friend. Wright Burke was old even to Socrates. A commando veteran of World War II, he had a withered or dead left hand, and he wasn't much taller, or sturdier, thicker, than Darrow. But his walnut brown eyes had all the strength a man could need. The first day Socrates saw those eyes, he knew that they were the eyes of a friend you could trust. I'm here with my friend Darrow, watching our house. Pleased to meet you. Wright held out his hand to Darrow. The boy stood up and took the man's hand. Holding on, Wright asked, Have you seen anything yet? Then he winked and let go. 11 windows, Darrow said. Wright laughed and sat down with his guests. Where's Luvia at? Socrates asked. She's down at church, Wright said. They are making sweet potato pies for a street fair tomorrow. Shoot, you know, if she was here, she would kick your butt off these stairs by now. She would have kicked your butt off these stairs by now. Luvia runs this house, Socrates explained to Darrow. It's kind of like a private retirement home. Uh-huh, Darrow said, but his attention was on the house across the street. I don't see anything. All I see is 11 windows with the shades down. Now you're onto something, Socrates said. Darrow looked harder, but the shades didn't seem like anything to him. It's a bright sunny day, Socrates said. Yeah? Then why are they going to have the shades down if it's so nice outside? Because they're asleep. Wright laughed and said, That's a good one. There isn't anybody in the yard, Socrates said. There isn't anybody coming over on a Saturday. Garage is all closed up. You haven't seen it, but there's a Ford van that comes in and out of that garage late at night. And you see that shade up on the 3rd floor? The one on the far right side? Yeah, said Darrow. Does it look different? Kind of. Kind of how? Like it's shiny. I don't know. Yes, you do know. It is shiny. That's because it isn't made of cloth like the other shades. That one there is plastic. And you know why? Because they do something different in there. Both men laughed. Darrow frowned and looked down between his knees. We're not making fun of you, Darrow. Don't go pouting on me now. It's just what you said is funny. You see, that there is a house full of cops. What they're doing is what they call surveillance. Watching the young Africans. And do you know why? Darrow was in too deep and he knew it. He hunched his shoulders and let his head roll to the side. To hunch your shoulders is to lift them up. They're worried about those young college black people. Maybe they're making bombs down there. Even worse, maybe they're going to get all the other black people to vote. And it's black cops, too. Me and Wright have seen them. Black cops spying on black college kids, while Jamal is going down here and engaging in prostitution. Does that sound like the law to you, Darryl? The boy shook his head with a confused look in his eye. 3 cops on every shift. 3 shifts, Wright said. You know, we figure that, with benefits and expenses, they are paying at least $2,500 a day just to look at those kids. Here you've got 20 old people right here that can hardly pay for food. It's a shame. And if that isn't bad enough, there's a crack house running almost next door. A crack house is a house where they sell drugs. Socrates said, 2 houses down, and those cops have been there for how long is it now, Burke? 4 weeks. 4 weeks, Socrates continued. 4 weeks. And you know, there have been at least half a dozen people shot or stabbed on this here block in the last 4 weeks. It takes the cops 15 minutes or a quarter of an hour at least to answer 911, and those cops in that house don't make a peep. They don't come out to help. Not a peep. Wright Burke grunted. It's a damn shame. Socrates Fortlow, a woman's voice declared. What are you doing on my front steps? Uh-oh, Wright said. Hey, Luvia. Socrates greeted the gaunt-faced woman. When you're gaunt, it means like you don't have a lot of thickness to your skin. She was coming up the stairs quickly. Socrates rose to meet her. This here is Darryl. Stand up, Darryl, and meet Wright's landlady. A landlady is a woman who owns the property where you live. Darryl did what he was told. He stood up straight and put his hand out at the sapling thin woman. A sapling is a baby tree. Who is this, Socrates? She asked. My friend, ex-chicken thief. He's a boy looking for a good deed to commit, or a good deed to do, or a good act to do. Well, let me tell you, boy, you want to do something good, then you should get away from this man here. He is anything but good. That's okay, Luvia. You don't have to like me, but Darryl here might be coming around sometimes. Just because you hate all men, I hope you still have a little heart for a man-child. Wright Burke laughed, and Luvia slapped his shoulder. Get off my property, Socrates Fortlow. Get, she yelled. See you later, Wright, Socrates said. He and Darryl went down the stairs and back the way they had come. Section 3. Why does she hate you? Darryl asked when they were down the block. Socrates grinned and said, That's a good woman, boy. Good woman. She runs that house for poor black folks when half the time she is broke or has no money at the end of the month. If it wasn't for donations from her church, you know the county cops or marshal would have repossessed by now. She wouldn't be able to pay for the property and the bank would take it back. But why does she hate you? Darryl asked again. Because she's a good woman. There's a wistful or wishful note in Socrates' voice. And I'm anything but good. Luvia could smell the bad on me. All she had to do was see me once, and she knew what I was. And you know, she's a Christian woman, too. But if she's religious, doesn't that mean she should forgive you? Christians believe in redemption, or forgiveness. That's true, but usually you have to die in order to get it. I guess Luvia would say a few nice words if I died, but it would take something like that. It sure would. They stopped for popsicles at a little store on Central, and then went on towards Socrates' home. Did you have a good time, Darryl? Socrates asked the boy. It was getting late in the afternoon. The sky toward the ocean was changing from dusty blue to light coral color. Corals are red. Yeah, the boy said tentatively, or not quite sure. But I still don't know what I have to do. I can't see anything about that crack house and the Africans. And you know I'm not going to get close to those police officers. I'm just little. I need something little to do. Socrates smiled. His legs were beginning to ache from the walk. What do you think about the young Africans? I mean, how come you don't like them? You know, they're always talking like they know stuff, and we are stupid because of our music or whatever. You know, I mean, they're up in their house trying to tell us how to live, and they're no better. They don't have any money or a nice car. So, at least they're trying to make something better, right? Maybe so, but I still don't have to like them. Let's stop a minute, little brother. My legs aren't young like yours are. Socrates halted and leaned up against the wall of a boarded-over hardwood store. He took a deep breath and smiled at the multicolored sky. I don't like them either, he said. I mean, I like what they say, but words aren't deeds. Words aren't actions. They don't know how to deal with people. What do you mean? Darrell asked. Socrates saw in the boy an honest question. He saw that Darrell really respected him, really wanted to know what he thought. The idea that Darrell wanted to hear what he had to say scared Socrates. You don't teach people. You love them. You don't get a house and a printing press and put up a fence. You do like Luvia does. You open up your arms and your money. You don't have to worry about police. Cops don't mean anything. But you don't let a crack house be on your street either. You have to love your brother, and if you love him, then you want to make sure he's safe. That's like in a gang, Darrell said. Yeah, Socrates nodded. In a way it is. But in a way, it isn't either. The young Africans are like a gang. They have their code and their colors. They are ready to go to war, and that's fine. Sometimes you have to go to war. But most of the times, you should be helping. You should be laughing and eating well, and you should go to bed knowing that there isn't anyone that's hungry on your street. Darrell was looking deeply into Socrates' eyes. He had heard the word hungry. Socrates knew that he would. So it's only that lady that hates you that's doing right on Marvane, Darrell said. Uh-huh. The only one that's going to make black people feel good. She's the only one that has a right to go to war. Darrell and Socrates started walking again. Neither one said anything until they reached Socrates' back door. They went inside and took turns going to the bathroom. When they were sitting again, Socrates asked, So what are you going to do now? I have to get home. I mean, what are you going to do, boy? Darrell stared at his mentor, but there were no words in his mouth, no thoughts behind his eyes. A mentor is a person who helps you, maybe teaches you things. Socrates was reminded of hours and years spent behind bars with nothing in his head. He remembered thinking that the only thing to life was feeling pain, or not feeling it. What should I do? Darrell asked. I don't know, Darrell. Maybe you should dream. Huh? Are you still having bad dreams at night? Not too much. If I do and I wake up, then I think that I'm going to do something and I go back to sleep. That's good, Socrates said, because a boy needs sleep, you know. How's he going to go to school and answer hard questions like the ones that you have if he doesn't get his rest? What questions? Marvane Street. Darrell cocked or angled his head round to the side and he nodded. He blinked and nodded again. Socrates put his hand on Darrell's shoulder. You know, there are only two things that a poor boy like you has to do, Darrell. What's that? Darrell put his hands up and touched Socrates' arm. It was a light touch and brief. It didn't hurt at all. First, you have to survive, Socrates said. Then, you have to think and dream. Darrell nodded. He said, But I'll probably get killed. No, you won't, boy. I won't allow that. But how could you stop it? I don't know, Socrates said. But I'm not alone. If they start shooting on your block, then you come here to me. If I can't help you, we'll go to Wright and Luvia. She has a whole church with her. You see, Darrell, a boy like you might have to go underground. Like in a hole? Not a real hole, but you might have to hide from people. You will be there, but they won't know it. But what if they want to get me at school? Then you have to get out of school and learn someplace else. I can do that? You can do anything, boy. Just as long as you are alive, you can do anything. Section 4. That night, Socrates had a dream. He dreamt that he was sleeping in a tiny room, no larger than a closet. He was dreaming about the rain when there came a violent knock on the door. He jumped up and crouched down at the end of his canvas cot. Canvas is a type of cloth. He scared of the powerful blows that had awoken him. Socrates, a deep voice boomed, or said, Socrates. And then Socrates woke up. But when he went back to sleep, that big voice called out his name again. This time it was even louder, and Socrates lurched awake. 5 times the voice called to him, and 5 times he woke up panting. He decided on the last awakening that he wouldn't run from the voice again. He fell asleep and the voice called. What do you want? Socrates yelled, ashamed of himself for shivering, being afraid. Come on out here, the voice commanded. Socrates opened the door. He found himself standing before a towering, dark black or jet black man. A man with a broad nose and sensual big lips. The man's eyes were stern or angry, and his shoulders were wide as a sail. Come on, the big man said, and they were walking outside in the driving rain. The weather was strange to Socrates because even though it was night and cloudy and raining, in the far-off distance he could see the moon lighting up a small hill, illuminating. The light from the moon lit the field through which he and the big companion traveled. They walked for a long time until Socrates' legs began to ache. They came at last to a giant stone arch that had the words Soul's End chiseled or carved into its crown or top. Beyond the arch, bathed in rain and lit by a golden moon, stretched a graveyard that went on for hundreds of miles. The graveyard went so far that at its farthest end or limit it reached into daylight. It was the graveyard for all the black people that had died from grief or sadness. Each grave was marked by a small granite stone, hardly larger than a silver dollar, probably about that big. Here, the man said. He handed Socrates a spade. It's called a shovel. We got to dig 'em all up now. It's time. All that? Socrates yelled over the rain. Every one, the big man said. I can't do it. But you could try. It would kill me. The giant gestured toward the graves with a hand even larger than Socrates's. We all die. Socrates came awake again. He sat up and laughed so hard that he had to get up out of his bed. He laughed so hard that his side hurt, and he sank to his knees. After laughing, he ran to the toilet and threw up the beef and mushroom gravy that he had had for dinner the night before. It was like, he said to Wright Burke a few weeks later, it was like I was a child seeing lightning for the first time. The light show made me all giddy or silly, happy silly, but the thunder scared me down to my boots.